French aircraft were over Damascus again today, one day after the Mandate Authority set their warning down in writing that the villages of the Ghouta and the quarters of the city might be fired upon without further notice. The planes came back over the rooftops. In the south of China, the Nationalist Party has placed a single chairman over its councils for the first time since the death of Sun Yat-sen, and the chair has gone to a wealthy patron of the soldier Chiang Kai-shek. In New Jersey, the textile workers of Passaic hold their picket lines into another week, while in Washington, the Senate makes ready, 7 days hence, to hear them. And across the Atlantic, the coal miners of Britain are still locked out and still alone. This is Tribune of the Plebs, the news of the day given whole. Wednesday, the 19th of May, 1926. The word from Syria this evening is that French aircraft have once more been over Damascus. The cables of these middle days of May do not all agree upon the day. Some place the heaviest fire on the 7th, some upon the 9th, some upon the city in these last hours. What is not in dispute in any account that has reached us is the thing itself, that through the early and the middle weeks of this month, the capital of Syria and the country around it have lain under French guns and French planes. Only yesterday, this program carried the notices the Mandate authorities had put into writing that the villages of the Ghouta and certain quarters of Damascus might be subjected to bombardment without further warning for the sheltering of rebels or for the non-payment of fines. The Ghouta will mean little to listeners who have never seen it, and it is worth a moment. It is the green belt that rings Damascus, a great oasis of orchards and gardens and watered fields fed by the river Barada as it comes down from the mountains and spends itself in the plain. It is the larder of the city, its apricots and its walnuts, its wheat and its vegetables, the country to which the people of Damascus have looked for their bread for as long as there has been a Damascus. It is also the heartland of the revolt. The gardens that feed the city have sheltered and fed the men who have risen against the mandate. The villages among the orchards are the villages the fighters come from. And so it is the gardens and the villages that the notices name, and the gardens and the villages over which the planes now fly. The city has known this before. In the autumn of last year, French shells fell upon Damascus for 2 days together and laid whole quarters in ruin, a bombardment that drew protest in the chancelleries and the newspapers of Europe, and that cost the French commander his post. The revolt it was meant to break was not broken. It began last summer in the mountains of the Jebel Druze under the leadership of Sultan al-Atrash over new taxes and forced labor and the deportation of the notables who protested them. It spread north and west into the Horan, into the Ghouta, into the quarters of the city itself. And near a year on, it has not been put down. The working-class press abroad has not been silent on Syria. In the spring, the Bulletin of the Communist International carried an appeal under the title, "Save the Lives of 7 Syrian Revolutionaries, the case of men held under French sentence." Damascus and the Ghouta were placed in French keeping by the League of Nations under a mandate whose stated purpose is to make the country ready for its own independence. This is the form that keeping has taken in the month of May. Notices of bombardment, fines laid upon villages, and aircraft over the orchards. From the south of China comes word of a change at the head of the Nationalist Party, the Kuomintang, that holds the city of Canton and the country around it. Since the death of Sun Yat-sen last year, the party that Sun built has been governed not by one man, but by its central committee, sitting as a body. Today, that committee has resolved to set a single chairman over itself, and the chairmanship has gone to a man named Zhang Renjie, not a soldier and not an orator, but a wealthy financier, and for many years the friend and the backer of Chiang Kai-shek, the general who commands the party's army. For listeners who have not followed the affairs of the Kuomintang, a word on how matters stand. Some 3 years ago, the Nationalist Party reorganized itself with the help of advisors sent from Moscow, the chief of them a man known as Borodin. And with Soviet arms and Soviet counsel, it built a military academy at Whampoa near Canton, with Chiang Kai-shek as its commandant, to train the officers of a national revolutionary army. In the same arrangement, the small Communist Party of China was admitted into the Nationalist Party, its members joining as individuals, an alliance, a united front of nationalists and communists, with the Soviet Republic standing behind it. That alliance still stands, but it stands less easily than it did. When Sun died, the leadership divided. Wang Jingwei on the left of the party, now abroad, others on the right, and Chiang, the man of the army. In March, in Canton, Chiang turned of a sudden upon the communist officers and the Soviet advisors attached to the city's garrison, placed them under arrest, and then released them. The united front did not break, but the warning had been given. And in these past days, the party has set down, in writing, the bounds within which the communists may act inside it. They are not to head its central committees or its departments. Their numbers are to be held to a fixed share, and they are to be entered upon a register. So the account of it, as it stands tonight, is this. The Nationalist Party of China keeps its alliance with the Communists and with Moscow. It has, this month, drawn a fence around the Communists within its own ranks, and the new chairmanship of the party rests with the patron of the man who holds its guns. The purpose of the Canton government has never been a secret, to unseat the warlords who rule the provinces of the north, to bring the country under one nationalist authority, and to be rid of the privileges the foreign powers hold upon Chinese soil. The correspondents of the Communist International have followed it closely under the standing call the movement abroad has raised, Hands Off China. Where the party goes from here, the coming months will show. Across the Atlantic, the coal miners of Britain are still out. It is a week now since the General Council of the Trades Union Congress went down to Downing Street and called off the Great Strike, the strike of more than 1 million workers who had come out beside the miners and left the miners to carry the dispute alone. The pits stand idle. The men hold to their refusal of the owners' terms, lower wages and longer hours. And the owners, who have the courts and the government beside them, need do nothing now but wait. That is the whole of the change today, which is to say there is none. The lockout goes on in its slow and grinding way as it has gone on since the first day of the month. And at home, in the mill town of Passaic in New Jersey, the textile strike holds. Some 16,000 workers, the most of them immigrants, Polish and Hungarian and Italian and Slav, a great many of them women, have been out of the woolen mills since the winter against a cut in their wages. Their strike is led by the Communists under a young organizer named Albert Weisbord, and it has been met as such strikes are met in this country, with the clubs of the police, with injunctions out of the courts, with families put out of the company houses, and with a press that calls a wage strike a Bolshevik plot. It has also lasted. It has lasted long enough and grown large enough that the Senate of the United States will take notice of it. A week from now in Washington, the Senate's Committee on Education and Labor is to hold a hearing upon the strike at Passaic. That a strike led by communists of immigrant mill hands should compel a hearing in the Senate of the United States is itself a measure of what the people of Passaic have made by refusing through the winter and into the spring to go back. That has been the full report of the day. This is Tribune of the Plebs signing off for the night.